There. Don't want him to shut down all the way. I'd like him to walk through there. All right, so one thing that this horse really wants to do when he stops is to just nosedive. Like, he comes to a stop when I ask him to stop, but he just plants on the front end. So what I've been doing at this stage is that I just kind of pick him up and ask him to walk through it and soften in the chin, because that's what he wants to do, is just kind of grab the bit and just fall into it. So he likes to push on my hands quite a bit. This horse has no problem leaning on the bit, and so especially on horses like this, I try not to give them anything to push on. A lot of times people start fighting with their horses and sawing on their mouth and doing that kind of stuff. If you have a horse that wants to ride in your hands, don't give them something to push on, okay? Now, I'm not saying never correct them. There are times you're going to have to get after that horse, and sometimes a very stern way, okay? But your timing has to be right, and the rest of the time you need to not give him something to lean on. So if he falls on his front end, what I want to do is just kind of pick him up, soften him in the chin, and walk out. Now, we just started working on a little bit of collection, and at the very green stages, it's just going to look like some softening of the chin and softening through the top line and building off of the exercise we just did, okay? So I'm gonna squeeze my legs, close my pinkies, ask him to maintain impulsion, and I'm not pulling on those reins there, very nice. But he just kind of softened in the top line and softened his chin ever so slightly, okay? Wait, squeeze, there we go. I don't want to push on my hands. It has to be both at once. Soften the top line, soften the chin, okay? Squeeze, wait, wait. That was a little bit, but it was kind of where he was, there we go. He was leaning on my hands a little bit. So he kind of came down and in a little bit, but he was still pushing on my hands quite a bit. Go, squeeze, ask him to soften. There we go. Squeeze my legs, ask him to soften. There we go. Just really little baby steps at this stage. There we go. Very, very nice. All right, and that's how we start that process. He's not at the stage where I'm going to show you guys a ton of this, because again, I just work on it in between the other exercises. With a typical training session, I'll work on one thing for a little bit, and I'll switch it up and go to another thing. And then maybe I'll work on a little bit of softening the top line, and then I'll lope around for a while. And then I'll take him back to trot and soften the top line a little bit more. But it's never where I pick on one thing incessantly or constantly for the whole session. So keep that in mind. It keeps the horse more engaged and makes him feel like he actually can get the answer right, okay? And when you're working on a lot of these exercises, when you're really stretching their muscles and asking them to do things that is out of their comfort zone, it does take a lot of muscle development, so you don't want to be expecting that horse to go beyond what he's capable of and then for him to give up on you. Squeeze here, kind of push on me, very nice. And I just go ahead and leave him alone. There we go. And we only work on this softening in the chin for a moderate amount of time. This is just to where the horse understands to keep driving through it, and that, there we go. That I don't want him to lean on my hands when I ask for collection. But what a lot of people start doing is that they think collection is just a position on the face. And so they start getting that horse to soften further and further and further past the vertical. And that is just a headset. That is not collection, okay? I say this so many times. If you want to watch our videos on collection, I'd recommend you doing that if you're in that stage with your horse. But it's all about getting the back to lift. Without getting the horse to soften in the chin, you can't do that. So we start with that step. Get him to soften in the top line, but it's all about lifting the back in the long run, okay? So keep that in mind. I'll do just a little bit more of that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and ask this horse to lope around, okay? There we go, good job.